Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Approve More Patients and Grow Your Revenue. All lines have been muted. The webinar will last 45 minutes, and we will have dedicated time after the presentation for Q&A. If you have questions throughout, simply type them in the comments section, and we will address them during the Q&A time. This webinar is being recorded and will be sent to each participant afterwards. Our speakers for today are Brian Stevens and Jim Whitman, who are both with Rev Healthcare. Brian currently serves as president, and Jim serves as a senior healthcare consultant. They have partnered with UGA and iCare Leaders to offer the MyCare payment program. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. At this time, I will turn the webinar over to Brian.
Thank you, Teresa. So what we are going to do today is to talk a little bit about the program itself, and then Jim will do we'll show you the integration with one of the platforms that we have, and he'll walk you through all of that. So basically today, the agenda, we're going to talk about the program benefits. We're going to talk about the program versus your care credit, which is what most people have currently. We're going to talk about the pricing, and then we're going to do the integration. So when we put this program together, it was a collaboration of both the ECL executive leadership, UGA, which is referred to as Universal Guardian, and our company itself. And what we wanted to do was present a program that would be not only a program that could replace care credit or enhance care credit, but also use it to allow you to expand your patient base by going down to lower credit scores. So when we put this program together, there's a couple of different highlights in it. One was, again, additional tiers for lending, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. We also, everybody who's an ECL client will automatically be approved to the program. So all we have to do is get some demographic information on you and where to send the money to. We've integrated currently with MD Office and Management Plus. We're now working with a couple other platforms, and we should have those integrated here probably within the next 60 to 90 days. And we can talk a little bit about that as well. The optional credit tiers to finance the lower FICO score patients, we go all the way down to a 580 credit score, where care credit usually stops around the 730, 740 FICO score. We will go all the way down to that in different tier levels. Those tiers are completely optional for you. We will give those tiers to you, but you do not have to use those tiers if you do not want. And Jim can talk a little bit about that in a little bit. And then we also can, under this program, pay the referral sources directly rather than through the practice. So basically, if you have a referral source you have to pay, you just advise UGA about that, how much it is, and then they will go ahead at the time that they ACH the money out to your practice. They can also send it to the referral source simultaneously. And as long as we can do that, I believe there's an unlimited amount of referral sources that we can put into each and every practice. The one thing about this program, so everybody understands, is that this is a national program for everybody. However, we can customize this program for each individual practice based upon what you want. And so the pricing that we're going to show you, and we're going to talk a little bit about care credit, is individualized for your own practice. And that allows you greater flexibility in what you want to do for your patients. So right now, the how we put this together between the MyCare payment program and care credit is we're going to start off at a 16.9% consumer interest rate as opposed to care credit that charges 26.9% for everybody. Now our rates are tiered. So based upon the FICO score of that individual, it will start from 16.9 and go all the way up to 26.9. But care credit charges 26.9 for anybody. So our program to compete directly with them is a 10% reduction in the consumer payment or the consumer interest rate for that patient. The initial phases here, I talked about a 580 credit score. Under this program, The three tiers that we have embedded today are going to go from 680 to 900. Care credit's about 730, 740 to 900. It's not really a FICO score, it's more of a TransUnion score, but basically the same thing. We are integrated into these platforms. Care credit is not. And the pricing on this is basically, if you look at your current care credit pricing, we've matched that. So how we're going to do this is this. Care Credit has about 8 different programs that they offer to each practice. We can offer all 8 of them. However, what we would like you to do is, if you decide to move forward with the MyCare payment program, is to choose the Care Credit programs that you're currently using the most. And then we'll match that pricing for those clients, for those patients. And then we'll put the other tiers in behind it. What we don't want to do is offer all 8 of them if you're not using all 8 of them. So what we did here was, we're just showing you the 12-month and the 24-month deferred interest. But if you wanted to offer the 6-month deferred interest or the 18-month deferred interest, you just have to advise us that that's what you want to offer, and we'll put those programs specifically into your practice. So we have some flexibility there. The other issue is that we don't charge a merchant fee, and this is sort of an interesting thing with Care Credit, because it's a credit card, and you can use that credit card basically anywhere once they're approved. So they can get it approved at your practice, but they can take it down the street and use it at a different practice that accepts Care Credit. They could use it at their local dentist who accepts Care Credit. They normally charge a fee, a merchant fee, just like your Visa MasterCard. And that fee is about 1.90%. Depending upon what you use, it could be a little higher or a little bit lower than the 1.9. We don't charge that. Our program is a line of credit program. It allows the patient to come back in, but only to your practice. So when we approve an individual for $10,000 for a procedure, if they only use 5 and they come back 6 months later, as long as they're making their payments, they can access the other 5 that sits there, but only at your practice. So it gives you that ability to kind of manage your patients rather than having them go around town and looking at different options. And again, we talked about the payment to the OD referral sources. We do that, and Care Credit does. We sort of talked about a lot of this, but basically, under our program, at the same level that Care Credit is at, your patient would save about $700 in interest using our program over Care Credit. And on a payment level, that's about $87 versus $104, and that's for a procedure of $3,000 for 48 months at the 2 different interest rates. So it's a savings for your patients as well, which I think is important. If you use the MyCare payment program, in all of its tiers, from tier 1 all the way down to tier 5, you will double your approvals from what you're currently getting with Care Credit. And so if you don't use all the tiers, then obviously the number of approvals goes down. But we have seen this happen in other practices, where if you use all 4 tiers at the different pricing levels and the different discount levels, even though it's a little bit more expensive for the practice, you will double your approvals. We've already talked about the referral sources from lenders. The one-click application process is basically the integration, and Jim's going to show you that in a little bit. So we've been able to integrate with those 2 systems, and it's a very simple system. It's very intuitive. It cuts about, I would say, 5-6 minutes off the time for putting the application together. And then we make loan decisions in about 30 seconds, just like Care Credit, but it's all automated. What we do is, like I said, we're going to offer the Care Credit replacement product, and then all the other FICO scores. And these are just these are 3 tiers, but we actually have 5. They go down to 580. And so right now we're offering the 6-month, 12-month, and 24-month deferred interest. Now these are all based upon a term that's commensurate with the amount of money. And so, in other words, if somebody borrows $1,000, we're not going to let them put that on a 48-month plan. they would be able to get 6 months deferred interest on that. So they're broken down by dollars. And again, if you have a different program that you want to use, that you're currently using with CareCredit, you just have to advise us at the time that you complete the application, send it in to us of what you want, and then we'll go ahead and set that up into your system so everybody can have something different. And then the Tier 2 is really the new program that we begin to add the different levels. And we're looking at a discount fee of 7% in interest of 16.9, and we're only going to offer for Tiers 2, 3, 4, and 5 a 12-month deferred interest program. So it automatically comes along with the pricing. So if you get somebody at a lower credit score, at a 700, they wouldn't get technically the Tier 1 with CareCredit because they wouldn't have approved them either. So we would do that at a 7% discount fee. They would get 12 months deferred interest automatically, and depending upon how much they borrowed, they would get 12 to 48 months in financing. Same thing with Tier 2 from 670 to 699. That's a 10% discount, and then we have a Tier 4 and a Tier 5 that takes you all the way down to 580. And so we'll introduce those at a later point. But if you use these three programs together, from the CareCredit replacement all the way down to Tier 3, we're expecting approval rates to increase by about 30%. And so based on what you're seeing today. Now, a lot of people don't really know what they're getting for approvals with CareCredit because they don't disclose it. We will disclose your numbers to you on a monthly basis. And so as we look at your numbers monthly, we'll send out an email to the practice manager that basically says, here's your approval rates for the month, for this month. And then if you wanted to talk about how you can increase those approval rates, we can have those conversations. So now Jim is going to walk you through the actual integration with, I think this is Management Plus. Is that correct, Jim?
That is correct.
And so a lot of it is, and Jim will, kind of just put this into context. What it is basically it allows for the demographic information in your system to be pulled from your system to auto-populate about 90% of the application. So the system itself is, if you're using MD Office or Management Plus or one of the others, MedFlow, obviously it will look a little different at the beginning, but when we make the integration, once the demographic information is uploaded to the application and sent to the lender, you're in the lender's portal at that point, UGA's portal. And Jim can show you that. So it will look the same for everybody else once we get to the UGA portal. And again, it's just a very simple integration. Now, there are plans to do more with this integration down the road within the next probably year to make it fully integrated into your system so that you never really are looking to leave the system to go to the lender. It will all happen within your system. And then, as the client makes their payments to UGA for the loan, they'll also automatically update your system as well. So we've done the first phase of this integration. Jim will take you through this, and then we'll have some questions.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Again, this, of course, is the Management Plus platform. The process is different for all the platforms as far as getting the patient back up, but we, of course, have already put the patient's demographic information in here. We're going to go find that patient. They've come back for their consult, and we know what the cost of the procedure is going to be. We then select that patient. It pulls it up on your screen, and in the integration process, you'll be given a one-click option in billing to choose the MyCare Patient Credit. You click on that, and this is where it moves from the ECL platform over to the lender's platform, and everybody gets the same screen. Now everybody has the same experience taking the client through the process to the completed contract. We'll go back and I'll show you this is the information that you don't have to put in. This has already been put in automatically. The demographic information has been transferred from the platform. And we're back to the initial screen that you would see. We then edit the credit application. This is where we're going to enter information about the specific transaction. For HIPAA purposes, it's always the same entry. It's medical services. You can choose a date forward. For instance, today's the consultation date. We know what the procedure cost is going to be, and we are able to put that date in here, so we can move that forward to December 4th. Social Security number's already been put in. The date of birth's already in. We do have to ask the question, do you rent or own? In this case, the patient owns. They have an $800 mortgage payment. And again, this doesn't need to be exact. It doesn't need to be to the penny. They can give you an approximate. You then ask for employment status. This covers everything from employed to homemaker to retired, self-employed, etc. In this case, we'll use employed, and it automatically brings up the screen where you can add the employer. Position. Hire date does not need to be exact. Most people will just give you the month and the year, and that is adequate information. We're looking for a work home phone number or a work number. Then ask for the gross income. This, of course, is income before taxes or any other deductions are taken out. If there's other income, you can enter it here, rental property, annuity, whatever. And then we save, and it'll return us back to the window that we just came from. And at this point, we're going to ask the patient to acknowledge that we're going to be running credit through a third-party service. But you can advise them that this is what is called a soft pull because it's medical in nature. And so there is no impact to their credit score by taking this, by making this step to find out how much they qualify for. So we'll give that approval and we'll submit. And the next screen delivers the credit line. In this case, Marisol test case is approved for $8,500. If you know the amount that the procedure is going to cost, you can move to loan options. If you don't have that number yet, wherever you stop this process, when the patient comes back in and you call them up in the system, it would take you right to this page. For the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to enter the procedure cost. $4,000. No down payment is required. We've got the medical services description, and we can choose a date out into the future. I believe the procedure is going to be performed on the 4th of December, but the patient could choose January 14th as their first payment date. And you can see here, this is the credit available, this is the amount financed, and then it will move us through to get the terms. And as Brian was talking about, there's several different options here. All of them have a same as cash option, where as long as they're making their payments on a monthly basis, if they pay it off within the promotional period, all of the interest that has been accumulated in the payments they've made is then deducted from the balance, and at the end of the process, it is an interest-free loan. They won't pay anything. They can choose any of these terms because of the amount of the loan. Most people will take the lowest amount. In this case, it's 48 months, and we'll select that. This then moves us to the next phase, which is collecting information about how the patient would like to pay. This is not required. I'd recommend that you just skip auto pay to save yourself time in the practice. They can go back into their system because they're going to be given access to their account online. If they wanted to set up an automatic payment through a credit card or a bank account, they are welcome to do that. This is just giving them information electronically. Most people do agree to this, where they would like reminders either sent to them by email or by text. And we're going to assume that the patient is in the office to do this one, but I can tell you that you can go through this process via email, where you could take an application over the phone, and you could go all the way up to completing the contract to where you would offer that to them. But then when they come in for their procedure, they would then sign the contract in the office. And you call it back up through the system. But you can find out if, let's say somebody was an hour away from the practice and they wanted to find out how much they qualify for, we could take them right up to that process where we found out that Marisol Test Case was awarded $8,500 in credit. We could get to that point, and then they could come into the office to finish the rest of the process. So we're going to go ahead and complete this. And all right, send the contract. The contract then comes into the practice. And we'll have Ms. Test Case sign her contract. Agreeing to do this through an electronic process. This can be done by either turning your screen to the patient, or it can be done on a laptop as well. It's very intuitive. It just takes them automatically to where they sign. They could enter their own signature here with a pad, or most people just accept the electronic signature and adopt and sign that way. And they're initialing the contract. And that completes the process. This is very much like them signing a credit card transaction document. And in this case, because this is a test case, we're not going to finish it. We'll go into other actions, and we'll decline to sign. And in this case, we're going to say that we'll finish it later. This could be a case where the patient has called in and we're not ready to complete the transaction. We would then close out of this. If that patient comes back at a later time, when we call up that patient and we go back to the MyCare program, it will then automatically take us back to the section where the patient can sign the agreement and complete the process. So any place that you stop with the patient, if you don't know the amount yet for the procedure, you don't have the procedure scheduled yet, you can find out how much they qualify for, and then they stay in the system. When they come back to the office, you call up that patient, and it automatically takes you to wherever you stopped, whether it be at this point where it's time to sign the contract, or where we know that they've been awarded $8,500 in their credit line, and then you know what the procedure costs, you would then move forward with that. Again, it's a very intuitive process, very easy to use, and very fast. And again, this is now integrated in Management Plus and MD Office, and more platforms are being worked on as we speak. Teresa, are there any questions out there?
No, we actually do not have any questions. We can go ahead and head back to the slide deck, and I'll give everybody a quick update on the next webinar that we have. The next one will be December 12th, and that's going to be for our new MyCare Analytics product. And you're going to have our product manager, Sujit, who will be on the call, and also Chris Bonzel, who's our VP of Sales. And you can sign up for that at iCareLeaders.com. And we'll basically be covering the relevance of analytics and how it's going to help your practice, what the industry is saying about analytics, and then you'll also see a live demo. And then since we do not have any questions, we'll go ahead and close this out. Just a reminder that you will receive a recording within the next few days of this webinar. So if you miss part of it or would like to share it with some of your colleagues, feel free to send that around. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at iCareLeaders for summarized tips and action items from today's webinar. Thank you for joining and have a great day.